Welcome to the Week in Politics. I'm Dave Morris, joined via Skype by Chris Castile. He's in Washington, D.C. at our remote offices there at the Washington Examiner. And Chris, happy National Fried Chicken Day.
Oh, I didn't know, Dave. I'm sorry I had lunch already. I sure would have observed it.
I didn't know either. I just happened to see it on the Twitter feed when I was checking your Twitter feed, which is at News OK Politics. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Dave. Thanks.
What is the reaction out there in D.C. to Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City for Golden State? Because for a little while, people were thinking maybe Durant would go to the Wizards.
Well, I haven't talked to a lot other than just like, NBA fan types, but I think that, what I saw out of Comcast Sportsnet, I follow them because I follow the Wizards on Twitter, was, just that he never even said, just what a diss it was to his hometown that he never really even considered the Wizards. They were never really even in contention for it, and kind of what a slap it was to DC for that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's kind of a complicated relationship, as KD's relationship in OKC has apparently gotten over the last few days.
Well, while that's been the big headline, the big national headline last 24 hours has been FBI Director James Comey coming out yesterday on the investigation involving Democratic presidential nominee or presumptive nominee Hillary Clinton and her use of private email, regular email on the servers.
Private server to do all emails, basically what it was, right?
His decision was that he would not recommend criminal charges, so perhaps that ends that part of the debate, but it's not going to end the political debate, correct?
It absolutely is, and I mean, it sort of just kind of ratcheted up the debate in many ways. The Justice Department does still have the final call here, but after everything Comey said yesterday about the FBI not recommending criminal prosecution, one has to assume, especially given some of the other dynamics at play here, that the AG is not going to pursue criminal charges against Hillary Clinton either. But I think the way that and probably a lot of people thought that this was going to be the result. That everybody has this kind of cynicism that I'm not going to judge whether it's legitimate or not, but people are cynical about the Clintons and the fact that they just never seem to get in trouble for things. That most of us would probably be in some serious hot water about. But I think that what's added layers to it is just sort of the whole sequence of things. With the tarmac and now infamous tarmac meeting between former President Bill Clinton and AG Loretta Lynch. The final interview with Hillary Clinton on Saturday with the FBI, or like the only interview, I guess. I mean, that was the first time she had been interviewed about the whole thing. And then, what happens Monday, just following right on with these things. It could all be a coincidence, but people just aren't inclined to see it that way. So I think, on top of, what you'll definitely have, because Comey was so plain spoken in talking about, just what a mess her whole email practice was, and the State Department's really, I think you'll, and the fact that she was just absolutely wrong in what she's been saying publicly for over a year about I never sent or was included on an email chain that had confidential. Well, yes, you were, many times actually. So that was not true. And she said she turned over all work-related emails. That turned out to not be true. So there'll be commercials about that this fall, probably, this summer even. You'll see ads out of the Trump campaign or the RNC, just kind of contrasting what she said with actually what the FBI found. But I think you'll also get this kind of larger sort of conspiracy narrative too about, the Clintons and just kind of the whole business up here, and another opportunity for Trump to talk about it being rigged.
It is. In fact, Donald Trump says the fix is in. Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, wants congressional hearings. The Republicans are not wasting any time to jump all over this, and that's not a surprise either.
No, that's not either. And I think that, what maybe eventually, since there are so many FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests for all this information that the FBI has, now that the investigation's over, maybe, either congressional investigators will get it, or media that have asked for it will get it, and we'll get a bigger, um, I think, sense of what these email, and a lot of them have been released, but I think we'll get maybe a better sense of what the FBI was looking at, and what why they concluded what they concluded, which was we wouldn't take this to court.
One of the big headlines coming out today, President Barack Obama say he will slow down the number of troops in Afghanistan, withdrawing, I believe over 8,000 are going to remain there, Chris.
Yeah, I think he said 8,400, and this is because of renewed activity by the Taliban and in Afghanistan. I think what the president said today was, I'm just not, don't want to be responsible for Afghanistan once again being used as a training ground to attack U.S. interests or the U.S. itself. So, I think the reaction by the Republicans was okay. We should probably have more. And one thing that I think is also going to be discussed about this, this is because, again, of the Taliban and their increased hostilities between them and the Afghan forces, that what I keep hearing, especially from Republican senators on the armed services, is, and this goes back years, but apparently it's really gotten bad now in what's called the rules of engagement. When you have the U.S. troops there, and I think the president emphasized this again in his remarks this morning, that we're there to help. We're not there. We're not the lead fighters here. We're there as a support. And I think sometimes that there's confusion, with the U.S. forces about, well, when can we engage? I mean, what has to be happening? I mean, can we, if we're being fired upon, what exactly what that is? And I think that maybe not uncommon when you have these small forces like that. And so I don't know what kind of adjustment that's going to be made. I don't remember him really talking about rules of engagement. That's kind of granular, when he was trying to make kind of a bigger statement about I'm not going to be able to get down to 5,000 like I had planned to. But what it also means, as I saw, I think it was Chuck Todd point out, the next president, there will be three presidents who will be dealing with the war now, who will have had to deal with the war in Afghanistan. George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and whoever the next one is.
14 years old. Speaking of President Barack Obama, he and Elizabeth Warren are campaigning with Hillary Clinton right now.
And both kind of overshadowing her. That was the thing that last week with Elizabeth Warren, that it was actually more obvious yesterday, and I didn't have a chance to listen to it all. I mean, I had kind of the volume on low and sort of half looking at while I was working, but there's Barack Obama and Elizabeth Warren, and then there's Hillary Clinton. So I mean, obviously it's huge, and it's a huge boost to Hillary Clinton, but I'm not sure that those joint appearances are, the best way to showcase Hillary Clinton on the stump. Because Barack Obama he seems to really be enjoying himself, and he's really back in that kind of '08 campaign mode where he seemed to really enjoy it. Unlike 12, which it seemed like kind of a strain for him to either stay interested or stay enthusiastic.
Well, he probably is enjoying the last few months on the tour, if you will. Let's talk conventions. The Republican convention coming up July 18th through the 21st. It's in Cleveland, the Democrats' version, July 25th through the 28th in Philly. And Donald Trump, what are you hearing on the vice presidential picks?
Well, I guess just what the traveling press is reporting, which yesterday Tennessee Senator Bob Corker spent the day with Trump, and then today took himself out of running for it. I mean, and then a day earlier, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst spent the day with Trump, at least some part of the day with Donald Trump, and has basically said, I really don't want to do this. So. I don't know. I have no inside dope on, what's going on with these, days with the nominee thing, and if he's actually trying to figure out who he can hang out with for an entire day. But I think it's down to maybe Chris Christie, Newt Gingrich, maybe Jeff Sessions, and maybe Mary Fallon, although I'm not sure Mary Fallon has a date with him. But we are 10 days away, 11 days away. It's really coming fast. The convention, a lot of people will be there next week, starting next week, and then everybody will be there. So that, that Sunday, the 17th. So I'm not sure anybody knows exactly when he's going to make it. It's not unusual to make the Veep announcement 2 or 3 days before. Trying to remember when, when Obama announced Biden, it was the Saturday before the convention began that Monday. That's my memory of it. And that's not unusual at all.
You had tweeted out earlier this week that Trump's kind of surrounding himself with some Washington insiders on these one-on-one sessions that he's having.
Well, that was definitely the case with some of the ones that are on the short list now. And I think that's really what they have to have. And I just think that he needs somebody who knows something about Washington. Why would you not have somebody in there with you, and if you're dealing with Congress, that can guide you in that way? Just from a process standpoint, because some of the people that he's brought in are I think he's trying to reach out to more seasoned hands now. But you just don't come here. If he were to win, you just don't come here with a bunch of amateurs. You can, and then and you wind up looking that way, and then he gets frustrated, and then things can go off the rails. And it's just best to have people who know the process, even just from kind of a nuts and bolts type way.
Chris, I'll get you out of here on this and staying with the convention topic. What are you hearing that we might expect from the Republican convention? From what I've been reading, I think it's a little bit of an unknown show, if you will.
And that's fine, because these things are so boring. They're horrible. The first, 2 nights.
How many conventions have you been to, Chris?
I've been to every one since 1980, every one but one since 1988. So 2 every 4 years. I should count them up sometime. The only one I missed was the Republicans in 2008 in Minnesota. That was kind of overlapping. I was doing some of the coverage of the trial out in Seattle, the Thunder trial out in Seattle that summer. So I wasn't able to do that one, but many conventions, and they're terrible. They're so scripted. And I've got to say, too, that the Republican one in 2012 may have been the most boring one I've ever been to. It was just so uninspired. But I guess the good news, if you're like me and don't want to hear those same people say the same thing over and over every night for 4 nights, is that a lot of those people have said they're not going to speak. He's got like all these Republicans go, I don't want to be on stage there. I think even the Ohio governor, it's taken place in his home state, John Kasich, who ran for the nomination. I don't think he's going to be on stage. So it could be very, very improvisational, which would be the exact opposite of what these things normally are. And so the first 2 nights, you normally get, maybe some of the up and comers, and maybe old and some of the old timers, and then. Wednesday you get the vice presidential nominee, and then Thursday you get the nominee. I've talked to, I think I asked both of the senators, whether they were going to go, Lankford and Senator James Lankford, Senator Jim Inhofe, whether they're going this year, because they do. They were both there in 12, and Inhofe almost always goes, and they're both going, and I think both of them are leaving Thursday morning. So they're I'm not trying to make anything out of that, but. They're not going to, from what I understand, neither of them are going to be there the night that Trump is nominated, accepts a nomination and speaks.
Interesting. The Republican convention coming up Monday through Thursday, July 18th through the 21st. What's that?
We shall Skype from there.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the convention hall will have good enough wireless that we can do it.
Have you scoped out any good food locations in Cleveland yet?
I've not done that yet.
I'm sure there is plenty.
Well, the problem, this is one of the most loathsome things about these conventions, too. is that all of the restaurants around like a convention hall, or, usually are basketball arenas. So if like, imagine that it's in downtown Oklahoma City and it's going to be, at the arena where the Thunder plays. So you've got all of Bricktown, all these great new restaurants downtown. You're going, can't wait. Well, almost all of them wind up getting kind of closed down for the week and rented out for private parties. So, you go to one restaurant after another and it's locked because of they're rented out for private parties. So it sounds good. Oh, hey, man, I'll just like eat my way across downtown Cleveland. No, you probably won't, you'll probably be locked out. You'll probably wind up eating hot dogs in the media center,
One thing I'm looking forward to this weekend is Chris Castile's breakdown of the most boring conventions, like a top 5 list, which, is all the clickbait rage
Good
these days.
idea. Kind of looking for a weekend story. That's a good one.
And we won't believe number 3, All right, he's Chris Castile. More political coverage can be found in the Oklahoman and online at newsok.com as well. Chris, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to do it, Dave.